Right, welcome back. More enthusiastic this week, I promise. Got some bits and pieces. Show you those now. Right, so there we have our sump and our oil pickup. I'm going to pull this off now, and then I'm going to jump in the Jeep and head down and get a new oil return for the turbo made up. I just want to get my head around how that's going to work before I go, so that I don't have to go back 10 minutes later. And I might see about getting a belt for that as well, see what we can do there. ECU should be here today, tomorrow, probably tomorrow now actually, because they sent it yesterday, so I don't know if it made yesterday's post or not, but I haven't got it today. So, and with that, I'm also getting a wiring diagram or a wiring schematic for the ECU pins, so I can go through that plug and make sure I have everything right. I'll push ahead with by take the sump off and have a look. Right, had a fairly brief trip down to engineering place there, and this is what we've got now. So I found this fitting, bored it, and I've welded that into my sump. And then what I have is this hydraulic fitting. Need to cut that collar off of there, and I am going to put it into this piece of pipe. Remember, there's no pressure in the oil return, just needs to be oil resistant. So that'll go into that hose tail. This feed that comes out of the turbo, I'm going to cut that off and hose clamp that on there as well. Same system we have on the marine engines and stuff. It's just a just like that, just a hose. Nothing. There's no need for this kind of thing. That was actually a turbo oil feed I got for the Cummins engines, which had female ends put on it instead of the other ones. But, yeah, you don't need a pipe like that for this. Other thing, got a bolt. That's the banjo bolt that goes into the back of the block. So I must cut this bolt down and just have a copper washer on it, and that's going to fill that hole in the block. And this alternator belt should be the one. There's a part number on it. It's 5 mil longer than what was recommended for that, but it shouldn't be a problem, and that should do the alternator in that position. So I'm going to pull that sump right now and see about getting this one put on. I don't have a filler neck for this, so I'll probably just either fabricate up a blank for now, or I'll fabricate up a little filler neck to bolt on there. Yeah, this sump has had a repair there. I know about that though. It's fine. And thankfully I rushed him a bit and that got done in 15 minutes, so didn't cost long. So for that to be altered, the few fittings, the belt, gallon of oil, and just a few little bits plus labour on this, was about 70 euros for that much. So if you want to turn a non-turbo sump into a turbo sump and do those other few little bits, that's what you're looking at. So get on with this and get that sump off. Right, sump off. What we'll do now is we need to take off the oil strainer. So I've already slackened that off. Right, that's the oil pump as well. So we'll take off. We'll take a look at the other one, and because I'm not sure at the moment whether the oil pump needs changing up, but they sent me one anyway, so we'll look at that. Right, so here's your two oil strainers. That's the TDI one and It's the T25 one. Oil pumps are the same. I'm going to stick with the one that was in the van because it's freshly come out of the sump, so there's no dust or grime or anything on it, so I'm just going to stick it back in. I don't see any signs of wear. A little bit on the face plates, they're alright, but yeah, so we'll put those together and stick it back in. It's just hosed all that down with a bit of WD-40. I'm actually out of brake clean, which is annoying because I meant to pick some up earlier. So that's the T25 sump on the oil pump out the TDI. So I'm going to stick that back in now next. You would wonder when they're building these cars, do they do some things just to infuriate people? These bolts for the oil pump are now too long because this strainer has a much, there's like a thicker casting on the bottom of the one that came out. So if I tighten these all the way in, and they're about 10 mil too long, and there isn't really enough thread at the end to take 10 mil off. It's an 8.8 bolts, it's a fairly strong bolt. Damn it. See, I have the other one tightened up, but you can see it's just... These are the things that stop you dead in your tracks. This wouldn't be a problem if I had another diesel T25 engine. It's just when I don't have one to begin with, all these things are a problem. Even if the bolts had been thrown in with that oil pump, would have done the trick. To be fair to him, I didn't buy an oil pump. I bought an oil pickup and he put a pump in there, so I shouldn't complain. Right, sorry, it's very easy to have those little lapses in filming when you get stuck in on doing something. So, cut those bolts down, Loctited them, torqued them to 18 foot-pounds torque. That seems plenty on a bolt that size. If you are changing your sump and adding one of these gearboxes, put the sump on first, because now I have to take the gearbox off and the adapter plate off to get the 3 rear bolts into the T25 sump, which wasn't a problem taking off the TDI one, but that's alright, I'll do that tomorrow because, yeah, I want to think about that. Turbo, cut the oil feed, or the oil return, sorry, cut that off, ran my pipe down. Just need to tighten that up, so there's my nice return fitting. Cut the collar off of this, and there's just a hose tail, 13mm or half-inch hose tail, because that pipe is about 13mm or close to half-inch. So that is my oil return. That pipe should be reasonably, let's see, when the engine's at its angle, we'll take a better look at it. May shorten this pipe up a little. Quite happy with where the turbo is. It might not be completely vertical, but it'll be very close to it. So I've torqued these back up and persuaded the oil feed back into place. Just a little tweak here and there. That, one thing I'd say about bending those, or same with injector lines or brake pipes or anything along those lines, is to bend them. Get them sitting first where they need to be, but bend them into place before tightening them down. Don't have them going off at an angle and then trying to straighten it out with this, because you'll end up leaving strain on the ends where there's the compression fittings or whatever type of ends are on them. Like that, I had to make sure that that sat nice and square, because I had to bend this slightly along here. This was sitting at an angle, so I had to make sure to twist that so it sat nice and flat against the block and in its position before putting a bolt into it. it'll help, because otherwise I have seen plenty of injector pipes and stuff crack off down inside here or leak because they're not laid in at the right angle. Now, what else on here? Yeah, so once I put that on, I tightened up the core again to the exhaust housing. This housing is still loose because I'm not sure what way my intercooler pipes are going to go, and two of these bolts actually hold the wastegate actuator. Also, because this oil feeds was used to be around here, I had to cut this little heat shield. Just managed to, he was able to get in there enough with the grinder. We just touched the manifold there, but should have been done while it was all off. But you know, these things become apparent as you go along. So yeah, so that's a couple of things done. I don't have a T25 filler neck yet, so I may either make a blank for this or make a feed that I can attach a hose to take it up to the rear hatch. Also don't have a T25 dipstick, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do with that, whether I'll just keep this one and mark where my oil capacity is on it. Yeah, so I think the next thing really is to lay that back down and take the gearbox off, which I'll probably do tomorrow. And hopefully I have an ECU in the morning as well, so we'll be getting this thing ready to fire up after that. Just stuck the alternator on with that belt as well. I think that's quite a neat setup really. All I've got to do is make a small bracket to just join the bottom here to that. It's just something, doesn't need much. The alternator can't actually go any further in there, so I just need to just make something to support it, and the wire is stretched over easily enough. A little bit tight around there, but yeah, I think there's some issue with that if you already have a battery tray in the engine compartment. I don't. I just have a empty space, so I will be putting a battery in the engine bay instead of under the seat, because I might use under the seats for 2 leisure batteries instead of a starter battery. And it makes more sense for cranking amps and everything to have the battery back near the engine. Plus they're really awkward to get at under those seats, so yeah, we'll see. Yeah, a bit slow going again today, but I have blanked off the EGR inlet and exhaust inlet, and that piece on the bottom of the sump where the filler drain goes. I just had some aluminium, so I just hacked it out of that and blocked it off for now. I might just buy a filler neck some other time, and I can just change it when I'm doing an oil change. That'll get me up and going now anyway. So could have possibly made those a bit nicer, but I kind of wanted to use the plasma cutter to cut them out, so yeah. Next thing now, I guess, is to pull this gearbox off and put those back bolts into that sump, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, but anyway, we'll get on with it and then we can fill it with oil. ECU didn't turn up today either. Don't know what the hell is taking so long with that, but probably have a good day is messing around getting that wiring sorted out before this will be ready to start, and with a few days work ahead of me now, so we'll see when we get it going. This bit of a last ditch effort. I actually managed to get the swivelly head thing on there. I managed to get 2 of those in. Can't see them. I managed to get those 2 in, and there's just 1, so when I lift the engine up again I might be able to get that from the other side, maybe. That would be handy. Now, as ever, there was a little side project. The dipstick tube in this was just a bit rotten around the base. So tried to pick it out and ended up pulling the tube off. That left me with a flush thing in here that I couldn't get at. So I ended up putting a Tek screw down inside it. By the way, I meant to do this when the sump was off and I could just tap the bottom of the tube up and it would have all been easy. But I forgot. Still struggled to get it, but then I just put a few... So how I ended up getting this out was putting a Tek screw down in the centre, and then I put a few little tacks of weld on it, and once I had heat on it, it was able to separate, and I was able to just get 2 screwdrivers underneath and pry underneath the head of the Tek screw, and just pry it up off of that, and it's out now anyway, so I can get a replacement tube, whether I change over to a T25 one or not. Now I'll see what's available. Either way, I would be happy enough just to cut down the tube. I've put 4.5 litres of oil in now, so it should be at the right level, and I could just mark another one if I want to do it that way. I did actually succeed in getting the other bolt in there as well from the other side. Very fiddly, but still easier than taking off the gearbox. So pull this out now, and there we go. Right, it's another day. I was fully expecting to have the ECU today, and it still hasn't come. It should only take a day to get here, and I thought it was posted on Monday. So I'm gonna, if it doesn't turn up tomorrow, I'm gonna chase that up again. I won't get to be at this the next few days. So what I'm gonna do, I'm biting the bullet. It's going in the van. One of these is going in the van one way or another, whether I can get this started or not. So I may as well get it in there, at least then I can start looking at my mounts, etc. So, yeah, this should be interesting. Okay, have that propped up in place. I know you're thinking, why the hell would I drop it down through the hatch and not just put it up from underneath? I don't know. Probably the same reason I'd look at a van like this and think, oh yeah, I'll fix that. But anyway, it's in about the right position. I'll be fine-tuning it a little bit now and looking at getting engine bars and stuff made up. It's the biggest problem with not having a diesel one is I have nothing like that. No engine bars, no, all those little bits and pieces. If you had a diesel one, that wouldn't be a problem. But actually, there's more space around it than I thought. I was thinking about this oil dipstick tube last night, wondering what one I should order to replace the broken one. And I thought, actually, I'll just measure it to the length I need it. I've put 4.5 litres of oil in that engine without, it has a dry filter as well, so yeah, so I've just welded the end back on that. I'm going to tap that back into place and that should do that. Other than that, I've just been kind of looking at this, wondering how I'm going to mount it and having a look at the gearbox mount and stuff. So yeah, over the next few days I'll get some steel and start formulating some kind of plan for that. So just tap that back in. I'll touch up that bit of engine paint in a minute, and that gives us oil nicely up just to the top of the full mark. Right, it's been nearly a week since I filmed most of that. I've been really busy, so I didn't really get to spend any time on this in the last over the last week. Did get a bit done this morning to do with the engine subframe, etc. And I did get the ECU back at long last, but we'll get into that in the next video. That'll mainly be about mounting the engine and hopefully getting it up and running. So I'll leave this one at that. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the like button as well if you wouldn't mind. Cheers, and I will see you next time. Thank you.